Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show on Channel 1 television. Here on The Point of View, we pick the right topics, we get the right guests, and ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you. Well, today is the 24th of February. It's an inauspicious day if you are an Nkrumahist because 59 years ago today, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown by the National Liberation Council in a coup that many described as a coordinated effort between both local and foreign elements. Tonight, we speak to a historian on the significance of that day, good and bad, discuss aspects of Nkrumah's legacy, who were his close associates, and what the 60 years of life after Kwame Nkrumah has meant for Ghana. Stay with us.
Do you want a healthy smile?
Are you waking up with jaw pain and headaches? This is commonly caused by grinding your teeth at night. Hi, I'm Tanya from Bethel Dental Clinic, Ghana. This condition is known as bruxism or grinding. It is both common in children and adults. Oftentimes, people are unaware that they are doing so, but the side effects are visible and often heard by one's sleep partner. Other times, clenching is done during the day, especially during stressful situations like work or driving. While stress and anxiety are commonly the cause for this condition, sleep apnea, medications, misaligned teeth, all contribute to bruxism. So if you're experiencing jaw pain, headache, sensitivity, and even fractured teeth, you may be a clencher or grinder. It can also wear down your teeth and affect your overall health. So recognizing and addressing bruxism early can prevent complications and improve oral health and overall well-being. After a dental visit, a custom-made knife guard will be made for you. Some offices can deliver this appliance the same day. This occlusal guard is worn to protect your teeth while you sleep to prevent further damage and discomfort. So, contact your dental office to learn more about protecting your teeth from clenching and grinding. Bethel Dental Clinic, the smile starts here.
Healthy smile. After a long flight, Safari Homes gives you the peace to unwind. A short drive from the airport, convenient for all. For nature lovers, Safari Valley Resort is a hidden gem, surrounded by lush greenery and luxury amenities. A place where you can truly escape. Now, for water adventure, Aqua Safari Resort has it all. Jet skis, canoe rides, kayaking, and a visit to the estuary. And for more excitement, Safari Eco Park is a perfect place to get closer to some amazing animals.
Visit Safari World in Ghana, together bringing you closer to nature.
Welcome back. So tonight we're doing some history on The Point of View. So if you're watching with your kids, remind them 24th February is a key date. Indeed, 28th February is also a very key date because the 1948 Crossroads shootings was what many people consider the trigger for the independence movement, leading to the boycotts by Nico Abnaboni. All of that led to the arrest of a number of people, including Kwame Nkrumah, who was part of the sixth group, which is now known as the Big Six. But today we're first talking about the man Nkrumah and the way he led, and that coup and what it meant for Ghana. Later on, we'll talk about a lawsuit. Democracy Hub and the CPP have come together to file an action to basically demand that Ghana's international airport has its name changed. So Kotoka International Airport is named after Lieutenant E.K. Kotoka, who is the man accused of leading the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah in that 24th February 66 coup. We'll discuss that too. Kweku Dankwankra is a historian. He's been on this show a few times and he's back on. Kweku, thanks for being on the show. Good evening.
Thank you.
Wonderful. It is said that Nkrumah's overthrow at the time was popular because there were so many things leading to his unpopularity. Apparently, prior to 1963, things were going very well, but after 63, things turned bad. The economy went bad. He was traveling a lot. He wasn't very popular and stuff like this. Do you have historical evidence to suggest that the overthrow at the time was popular, because I will be showing some photos of people jubilating. Nkrumah's statue infamously knocked to the ground, and some of it having school kids even stand around it. What does the literature say about the feeling in the country at the time? Was it just the opposition that were happy he was overthrown?
Yeah.
So, for example, here's a photo that says Nkrumah is the real traitor. People seem to be jubilating. They look like students. Any thoughts on that period?
Yeah, before I even delve into that, as we're talking today, let someone do coup d'etat today. You will get a lot of people going on the street who are not in support of this current administration. They will jubilate. And international media, as well as Ghanaian media, will have a lot of good photo opportunities showing people celebrating from many angles. Once we are doing multi-party politics, there is no way any opposition, because coup d'etat means opportunity for the opposition to emerge. So during that period, as you have clarified earlier, what happened was that Nkrumah did a lot of policies, okay, economically, in terms of bringing in a lot of factories between those periods, about the count about 68 factories that were put up by Nkrumah within the period. There was import substitution economy. We have a lot of educational improvement, access to education, health facilities, colleges, and so on. At least before it's over, we have 3 universities. Okay, you have the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, you have Legon, you have University of Cape Coast, and so on. So Nkrumah did very well. However, most people, their problem was by 64, economy started tanking, because most of the factories were being manned by a lot of CPP members, instead of open access for all other Ghanaians who have the competence or the technical know-how to work within the factories and the companies. This was not done, so it became largely partisan. Also, there was a lot of ransacking going on. All opportunities go to CPP supporters at all spheres, and this is not also led to the equitable sharing of the national cake. So, indeed, there was a lot of ill feeling economically that was hurting, because the economy started tanking. For the first time, we're talking about the inflation. What we call the human inflation was first came into our vocabulary, and it was used to see how the government was not performing. Beyond that, what really triggered most Ghanaian was the political policies of Nkrumah. The move towards the one-party state, starting with certain obnoxious policies, like Alien Deportation Act, which saw members of the Muslim Association Party, Elijah Amadou, Babalami, and others being taken away, Balogun and others being taken away within that period. This was against what Nkrumah himself has been advocating for, about the African unity, and how he used this law, Alien Deportation Act, to deal with his opponent within the Muslim Association Party, as well as even certain church leaders like Roosevelt, Archbishop Roosevelt of Anglican Church of Accra, including Bankole Timothy, who used to be the editor of the Daily Graphic, and so on, who were all deported from this country. So politically, this was something that really made Nkrumah unpopular. Then also the PDA, Preventive Detention Act, which saw imprisonment of most of Nkrumah's opponents, including Dr. J.B. Dankwa, Obeto Bilamte, and several others. Indeed, a lot of things went on. I can talk about the Pangwan Junction affair, which led to the massive incarceration of opposition elements that were implicated in the Awete affair, when he was accused of trying to overthrow the government, and how it impacted on the UP tradition, and so on. So some of these policies really hurt the members of the opposition. Within the CPP itself, there was also an anger, which led to some people moving out. By the time Nkrumah was overthrown, someone like Bodema had already moved out of the government and was in exile. and so on. So, despite the performance of Nkrumah at the time, politically, there was a lot that left to be desired, particularly with the amendment of the constitution, ushering into some form of one-party state, which many people saw as intention of Nkrumah to become an autocrat within the country. So therefore, when the overthrow came, people who had become victims of some of extrajudicial activity, who have become victims of the activities of a young pioneer, because people can rat or snitch on their parent, can snitch on others, and this led to a lot of people being incarcerated at rural level. And some party members even use the PDA as an act against their friends without necessarily the central government.
So it was abused.
So it was over abused, and some of these things.
So there's this iconic photo of Nkrumah receiving the news of his overthrow from Peking on his trip to Hanoi.
Yeah.
I interviewed Ali Mazrui many years ago, and by the way, viewers, this is 24th February 1966, so exactly 59 years ago today. Nkrumah was the president of Ghana. This was at the beginnings of the Vietnam War, or and he was traveling to go to Vietnam to try and broker peace, and he was overthrown while he was in China. Ali Mazrui said Nkrumah was a great African but not a great Ghanaian, because his stature was larger than life on the continent, and indeed in 2000 the BBC listeners voted him the African of the Millennium. But I thought it was quite interesting to see a man from a country like Ghana flying to Hanoi to try and discuss peace in a world that we know has become quite a big talking point, even in the US, because the Vietnam War is seen as a very unpopular war living in that country. In discussing his local problems, how did you see his international persona within that same period?
As Mazrui said, Nkrumah's persona is beyond the shores of Ghana. He's a global African phenomenon. And this is somebody because of his stance on Pan-Africanism and his also desire for the continental unity of Africans, as well as ensuring independence for all African states beyond the shores of African continent. So this is a man who was for the right of the ordinary people, and his political ideals show him as someone who came from below and moved his way through hard work to reach where he became. And as a result, he understood what freedom means for ordinary people, and he continued to do so at global level. Thus, if you look at his political ideals, when the West and the East ideas came in the Cold War, he decided to be non-aligned. And he said, we face neither East nor West. We move forward. Forward means ensuring peace. Forward means showing diplomacy is used for the betterment of humankind. And that is why you see him moving to Hanoi to ensure that that war, which was affecting the people within the Vietnam itself, as well as the American soldiers, something ought to be done. And he moved to ensure that there is a global peace. It is one of the good tributes of the leader at the time. But how that travel will later be seen as his last of his era is something that really beat his own imagination. That many people say he should have seen it coming. But for Nkrumah, he feels the kind of work he has done, the kind of development around that time, taking the African state first in the sub-Saharan Africa to independence, and trying to and have been successfully taken away from the shackles of not only colonialism but the continuous imperialism, or the nation continue attaching its equal strength to Britain by making us becoming a republic in 1960 was not mean feat. So with all those things he have done, and then the economic development he has also given to the people, he thought that no, nothing could be done to him, but he forgot about the political consequences of the actions he took. So if you look around that time, the elders used to tease that Nkrumah, when he was overthrown, say, my Ghana, my Akosombo, my airport, my harbor.
So this is why people say his autobiography was titled Ghana, the autobiography of Kwame Nkrumah. So he sort of saw himself as the country. I wanted to read an excerpt from Dark Days in Ghana to put it in context for you, and then you can take a comment. So he says, I left Accra on 21st February 1966. I was seen off at the airport by most of the leading government and party officials and by service chiefs. I recall the handshakes and expressions of good wishes from Harley, the coup, Yakubu and others. These men, smiling and ingratiating, had all the time treason and treachery in their minds. They had even planned my assassination on that day, though they later abandoned the idea. I remember shaking hands with Major General Bauer to be murdered in cold blood 3 days later when he refused to surrender to the rebel army soldiers. I little thought then that I would never see him again, or that Zanerigu, commander of the Presidential Guard Regiment, Kojo Botio, Kofi Bakun, and other ministers who were there at the airport would be shortly seized by renegade soldiers and policemen and thrown into prison. After a week of so-called maneuvers, which is in quotes, the operation began early in the morning of Wednesday, 23rd February 1966, when the garrison at Kumasi, numbering 600 men, was ordered to move southwest to Accra. Then he begins to give in detail. I mean, Nkrumah is amazing. He says, on the way, the convoy of some 35 vehicles was met and halted by the two arch-traitors, Colonel Kwesi Kotoka, commander of the 2nd Infantry Brigade, and Major Akwesi Amankwe Frifa of the 2nd Brigade. Kotoka had only recently been put in charge of the Kumasi garrison and had not yet confirmed his appointment. Kotoka, commander of the 2nd Infantry Brigade Group, and Major Akwesi Amankwe Frifa of the 2nd Brigade. Kotoka had only recently been put in charge of the Kumasi garrison. Okay, yeah. Now it says Afrifa was left in command while Kotoka went to Accra to report progress to Commissioner of Police John Willie Kofi Harley and to find some soldier better known than himself to be the nominal head of the revolt. The man chosen was Major General Ankara, even though the conspirators had thought so little of his ability that they had not previously troubled to consult him. He was, however, one of the few officers who had held even the rank of a major in colonial days and had seen service in the World War, if only as a quartermaster. In the Congo, he had shown some bravery and at least routine ability and had decorated him for his service, but essentially he was of a mediocre caliber. He goes on to describe in detail, mentioning names like Brigadier Hassan, head of military intelligence, Colonel Zanerigu, commander of Presidential Guard, Otris Owusu Setre, former head of CID. I mean, these are names that have become known in our history, but the thought that in Guinea, he could have such graphic memory to detail his views on every specific person involved or who was a victim. Quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, Nkrumah was a prolific writer. And you could see from his days in from 1945 West African Students Union, becoming the president of West African National Secretariat, and so on. He has been a writer all his life. So all what he needs is that to bring back those things he's capable of doing. He has been editing newspapers and so on. So it is not shocking at all that he could have that opportunity to write in such a fragrance manner. But the people he mentioned their name, if you look critically, and then also the aftermath of his overthrow, for instance, Harley, the coup, and others were the police, as well as the soldiers. The issue at that time to these people, if you read Peter Baker's work, the Operation Coup Chop, which was the code name for the coup. What actually was really worrying the soldiers at the time was the fact that Nkrumah has created an elite military force, which he called the Presidential Guard, okay, led by Colonel Zanerigu and so on. And as a result, they were arguing that even ordinary dresses and expenses for the soldiers, they were not being taken care of. The police too were also livid about the seemingly role given by this new Presidential Guard, as well as the changes in the top brass. So all these things coagulate in this two group of people, the police and then the soldiers, who were aggrieved to come together to overthrow Nkrumah, that he has refused to respect them, unlike the way the British were taking care of them. So for them, that is where their interests merge. And then the political actors, the civilians, who also want Nkrumah out so that they can also emerge. Their issues of Nkrumah's autocratic nature also came in. So if you look at the overthrow of Nkrumah, I'm working on something that has come into my hand about late Justice Austin Ni Abiwe Evans Emisa. He has written his autobiography that was not published. He talks about, it's called work, former DPP was at the core of the overthrow. When they overthrew, something very interesting happened. Initially, the leadership was to go to Kotoka and Afrifa. But when they look at the matrix, that people will see them as people who have always been guarded against Nkrumah, they decided to choose Ankara.
Which is what Nkrumah was referring to as...
Yes, so they brought Ankara in for optics, okay, to be their leader, and people would know, okay, but the Nkrumah was referring to as, he was also a respectable military general, went to the best of school like Sandest, and had the better days in, how do you call it, in Congo. So he was not somebody who was just all that diluted as Nkrumah is trying to portray him. He had seen better days.
So he was an experienced soldier with some rank.
Yes, so they respected him. Even the British
he was not directly involved in the coup.
Yeah, he was not directly. He was just brought in, and even what he was supposed to read, the piece that he read, tabulating all the wrongs of Nkrumah, was written for him by Justice Austin Emisa.
Wow.
He wrote everything in his autobiography.
Wow.
He talked about how the military brass came together, the way Halle went to post, but Halle is least educated. Okay, Halle was least educated, but he was a very powerful man who could be described as the main architect of the coup before bringing others like Otoka into it, and then they informed Afrifa, and then Major Okran. Those people later coming in to do the coup d'etat. So if you look at the coup d'etat, the architecture of the coup d'etat very well, people want to describe it as a police military coup d'etat against Nkrumah. But it couldn't have come without other causes like the Nkrumah's governance action, which really affected many people, and as a result, they gained sympathies from the Ghanaian public.
This is the point of view. Tonight we're doing a bit of history. My guest Kwame Nkrumah, remembering the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah 59 years ago today, reading some excerpts of Dark Days in Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah's book he wrote from Guinea. When we come back, I'll read another quick excerpt from that book, and then I'm going to show you a post our current president made a year ago today to show his mind on the subject. Later on, we'll discuss who some of Nkrumah's key allies were in government, and then what his legacy is. This is the point of view. Stay with us.
When on campus and not well, I worry no more. Thanks to Dragnet. With the Dragnet app, I can chat with a pharmacist anytime for my medications, and they are delivered to me right here on campus.
I am a trader. If I need drugs, I cannot leave my goods and visit the pharmacy. All I need to do is click on the call feature on the Dragnet app, and I speak with the pharmacist. The drugs are delivered to me right here. Dragnet, ahotoswo papa.
As a businessman, moving around to search for my medication could be very frustrating. But now, with the Dragnet app, I'm able to upload all my prescriptions and have them delivered to me wherever I am. The Dragnet app also allows me to order refills for my mother to treat her chronic illness. Dragnet delivers all the medications to her on time. It's so reliable and convenient. Download the Dragnet app from the Google Play Store or App Store. Dragnet, your #1 online pharmacy.
Here's Kwame and Yao. After hours of planning, both have locked in the same perfect multi-bet. Big win for United, over 1.5. And both teams to score in the London Derby. But who could have picked Leicester over City? Or a high-scoring game at the Bridge? There's nothing worse than having your perfect multi-bet missing. But there's nothing better than having it saved. Bet Saver. Win, even if your bet misses.
The point of view is looking at the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah, 24th February 1966, 59 years ago. Today, my guest, Kwame Nkrumah, who is a historian, piecing some of the stories together. I'm reading excerpts of Dark Days in Ghana, and I think it's quite interesting. So there's another page that says, by 6 a.m. on the 24th of February, the Accra police, acting on Halley's orders, had rounded up most of the ministers and other key political figures, and fighting had broken out at Flagstaff House between members of the Presidential Guard Regiment and rebel army units. There were about 30 members of the Guard Regiment at Flagstaff House when the alarm was raised. These were soon joined by others who managed to slip in by the back entrance to reinforce their comrades. Although heavily outnumbered, they successfully held up the rebel detachment sent to seize the Ghana radio station a short distance from the Flagstaff House. Only 8 of the 124 detailed for this operation managed to get through. These captured the radio station, apparently without incident, and at 6 a.m., Kotoka arrived to broadcast that the army and the police had taken over the government of Ghana. The announcement was premature. At 7 a.m., resistance was actually increasing at Flagstaff House, as the defendants, less than 100 of them, fought fiercely back against some 600 rebel troops. By this time, a battalion in Accra under Okran had joined them, not knowing what the fighting was all about. Thus, the rebels were able to gain control of the airport, cable office, radio station, and all approach roads to Accra. Kotoka had established a combined HQ with the police at police headquarters, and from there the orders were given for the 2nd Battalion to go into action at Flagstaff House. The Guard Regiment fought on, though their position was now hopeless. The outside walls of Flagstaff House had been opened, and the defenders had retreated behind the 2nd gate. Still, they refused to surrender. Let me read the last paragraph in this chapter. It was only after the rebels threatened to blow up the family residence at Flagstaff House, in which my wife and 3 young children were sheltering, that they finally gave in. The fierce fighting at Flagstaff House at this time was in striking contrast to the failure at the time of the April 67 counter-coup of Kotoka's bodyguard to defend his headquarters. He had made Flagstaff House into a strong point for which he commanded the army. Yet when it was attacked by a small detachment of some 25 men, the garrison immediately surrendered, as did that of the broadcasting station, which was also only attacked by a force of similar size. Again, a small group of soldiers, no more than 50 in all, were sufficient to capture the castle at Osu, from which the NLC conducted their government. Ankara, the chairman of NLC, was the first of his defenders to run away, jumping over the castle wall, plunging into the sea, and wading down the shore. So Nkrumah, even in Guinea, was basically saying his guys who defended him were more valiant than the people who defended the 67 government. This book is a must read for many people. Yeah. Not many presidents write in such graphic terms about what happens, and in that Nkrumah is different, isn't he?
Yeah, it is, because people have often wondered, even when he was in power writing, that what time does he have to put his thought together and write profusely like that? And this didn't end. After out of office, he continued to write, something we do not see among the leaders that have come after him. Apart from him, Buzia, he was an intellectual, so he's supposed to write. Apart from him, not much have not been written by leaders. And then
to be fair, John Mahama has written a book, My First Coup d'Etat, which is his autobiography.
Yeah, I know ex-president Kufuor too is writing his memoir. Yeah, that is about.
But this is Nkrumah wrote this whilst in exile.
Whilst in exile, so it is after he is overthrown, and so I'm saying that for him, he's way ahead of all the other leaders this country has produced, and he has a way has enriched our historiography and given us opportunity to dive deeper into what the governance things were during his time. Even though he wrote from his perspective. His writings has also triggered others who also have different perspective about the period to also write and say, here is what happened. So you could look at Nkrumah's book, you could look at Peter Baker's book, you could look at Afrife's book, okay, on the coup d'etat. You could look at Major Okran also wrote about the coup d'etat, and you will look at how the whole thing shaped. So from Nkrumah's view, from Major Okran and Afrife's view, as well as outside intellectuals who also wrote about the period, you will know that indeed Nkrumah did this country a very good service, because what is better than a man who was at the center of the affairs, writing about what happened. So he rather have a better perspective of what happened to him, even though there may be a biases that will favor him. That also leaves opportunity for others to write about the other side of it. So for me, Nkrumah did very well by writing, and it is something that ought to be encouraged by our leaders, that you do not only come and serve and go. You need to write about your perspective. There are certain things people will not understand you. By writing, you will put things in perspective. Maybe people outside did not understand how things went about. But you, when you write about it, I think it can put things in perspective for all of us to understand.
I wanted to show you President Mahamad's post a year ago today. And this is interesting. I haven't seen a post on this today, and I stand to be corrected, but this is 2024, February 24. So it says, 58 years ago today, a group of reactionary forces within the security services with active support from the CIA carried out a coup d'etat against Ghana's president, Pan-Africanist and statesman Dr. Nkrumah. This was a day of infamy in Ghana's history, forever altering the course of our nation's history. Now, John Mahama is a historian and a politician, our current president. Some people think that the NDC government is very sort of leaning towards Nkrumah. For example, John Mahama's government has agreed to bring back July 1 as a public holiday, which was actually the day Ghana became a republic, the day that he became executive president. Nkrumah, I'm talking about.
Which is something I agree myself.
Good. Now, do you think beyond this, there's going to be more done to try and salvage Nkrumah's legacy? Because as we are talking, some people have gone to court to have the name Kotoka removed from the airport. So for a president to tweet or post this a year ago before he became president, obviously now that he's president, will it be realistic to expect that he will do a lot more for the legacy of Nkrumah as president?
Thank you. You see, history has a way of indicating people who did things right. Even though they may have their own weaknesses. So after Nkrumah, leadership after leadership that have come, we have seen that they have not been able to live up to his mark. And that alone is a vindication of things he did. In terms of industry, he was able to put the country to almost about 23% around that time. A move that has seen a decline over the years. When we reach there, economists describe it as premature deindustrialization, where Ghana reached. That is when you are trying to reach the apex of your economic height, industrial height, and you are not able to reach there, and it declines backwards. It becomes difficult to restart again. And we have seen this move throughout our period since Nkrumah left office. Only attempt to salvage the industry was at Achampon's time. So if you have seen in recent time, a lot of videos are going around about things that Achampon did. And many are even questioning whether his death was right. Okay? It's because of what Nkrumah did and Achampon's attempt to actually walk in his path. The idea of free education, which Nana Akufo-Addo brought at his time, he himself said he was also working in the path of Nkrumah, which shows you that Nkrumah was really a primus inter pares, who is also a trailblazer, that he carved a certain niche which leadership after him have been trying to compete with. Even though people have also argued from the other side that people should try to make their own mark and be far better than him, rather than trying to walk in his path and trying to be better. So what it is that what President Mahama has written about the reactionary security forces who supported with the support of CIA, which we know to be true after Mahoney's book, trying to talk about it, and then also some of the
declassified
files. CIA files and so on, which I myself have some. You realize that there was external help in the coup d'etat. Even the French were involved during the coup d'etat. Wow. If you read Du Bois' work on how on a recent declassified work of one of the French security officers in France, when that work came out, it shows Bouzia, for instance, with Hofo Bouaine. Bouzia was given a code name Mr. No. Also talking to the soldiers and the CIA on where to go, where to move. And so some people even argue that the closeness of the French embassy to our Jubilee House, Flagstaff House, should be moved away because it served as a sort of direct encroachment into our Ghana security network and so on, as a result of that declassified document of the French security operative. So what you see is that this overthrow could not have been done by the Ghanaian security forces alone, because Nkrumah himself has become a thorn in the flesh of the people from the other side. I'm talking about the global right, okay, which was led by America around that time, because this man was suspected of being for the East, which today we call the Russia.
He was described as a Leninist, and then some even spoke about Russian soldiers guarding him and the rest of it. Nkrumah made reference to this as well. Yeah. So he was at the center of global geopolitics, and he fell victim to this. I wanted to talk a bit now about his friends. So if you look at the big six, before that, if you have the big six photo, you've said before that Nkrumah stands tall. Yeah. Right? So this is clear that Nkrumah being the youngest in the group, Obeche Bilamte, Akwaje, Akufo-Addo, JB Dankwa, and I think William Oforiatta, JB Dankwa, and then Akufo-Addo. His closest friend was Akwaje, correct?
Yes, his closest friend was Akwaje because he knew him from Lincoln.
So Akwaje was the one who sent the invitation to him to join the UGCC?
Yes, so they were friends, and they were also friends when he returned to London. Okay. It was Akwaje that offered him a house, would do appear to stay at the Agri house there.
Can we say Akwaje was the closest to him intellectually in this six?
Yes, he was closest to him intellectually than any other person here, because he had no prior engagement with any of the five, apart from Akwaje.
So ideologically, Akwaje served in his government as well?
Akwaje was ideologically of Nkrumah's kind, because he also schooled in the same United States, have the same Pan-Africanist idea and thought. Indeed, around that period, all of them, by their nature of fighting for independence, could be described as Pan-Africanist, because they were all for the independence, but the way and the manner that ought to be done, and then after winning the election, whether the ideals of the black African, which will be something that will be continued, is where they were different from Nkrumah, because most of them were pro-West, and they were ready to have engagement with the West. And that is why Nkrumah was of different kind, because he was for continuous independence and emancipation of all Africans within Africa and then in the diaspora.
So you notice that he is the only one in that picture in Nkrumah's cabinet. Maybe let me ask. So this is Akwaje, the man.
Yes, that's Akwaje.
Now, who was Bedema and why was he so powerful? He sat next to Nkrumah. This is Kojobo Ocho, by the way.
Yes.
And this is Bedema.
So those two guys are the Saddle Boys.
Both Bedema and Kojobo Ocho
and Bedema are the Saddle Boys. Very brilliant dudes, had better education.
So this was his finance minister.
Yes, finance.
And then this was his what was
he had different portfolios.
Okay.
So if you look at Bedema, for example, he was the chief organizer of the CPP.
Okay.
Without the CPP, without Bedema, CPP was nothing. But he was the chief organizer, and he really worked very hard for the organization of the party towards independence. And then both you two met Nkrumah for the first time in 1945 Manchester Conference, where he was also also, and then the two of them formed the core membership of the West African National Secretariat, WANS, and they worked very hard in the diaspora, student activism, West African Student Union, and so on. So before he was also coming to Ghana, he was a man well steeped in Pan-Africanism ideals and the causes. If you
so Bocho was his Minister for Labor and I think it was Labor and Labor. Whilst Bedema was his Minister
for Finance, and we know of Bodeman's critical role in the Akosombo negotiation with the Kaiser to come in for the Valco thing. He played a very critical role.
So he was the finance guy. On the extreme right is Kesley Hayford. Kesley Hayford.
Yes, Achi Kesley Hayford.
There are all kinds of Kesley Hayford.
Yes, so this is the son of J.E. Kesley Hayford,
a member of the Aborigines, right?
Yes, Aboriginal Representation Society, and also the founder of the National Congress for British West Africa.
So he was Minister for Communication.
He was Minister
for
Communication.
Kesley Hayford,
a very brilliant lawyer. Who will later be given a chancellorship of University of Cape Coast. So Casford was named after him.
Okay.
In Cape Coast.
Oh, Casford. I see. So of this man or his father?
Himself.
Oh, I see. So this is the Achike
Hayford.
Still sat at the bottom is A.E. Nkumsa, who I'm told was housing minister.
Yes, A.E. Nkumsa from the Secondary Takrade area. So he was also an MP, an effective politician at that.
Where was Kojo Bocho from?
Kojo Bocho was from Apam.
Central region. Bedema was from Volta region.
Nkumsa was from Western region.
Secondary. Okay, so Central region, Western region, Volta region, and then Achi
Central region. But he was a member of parliament, first member of parliament for what will become was then Kumasi constituency, Kumasi North, and then he also so I describe him as the first member of parliament for Menchia.
Okay.
And then when he later on he stood on the constituency 2 times and won. He later moved to Begro in the Eastern region and became an MP. He won the Begro seat, so he was member of parliament in 2 constituencies.
There was an Oforiata, Honorable A. Oforiata. He's the one on the extreme left.
Aaron Kofi Asante.
Who is that? He was an MP.
Yes, he is the son of Nanase Oforiata the first.
Oh, and Nana says son became a member of Nkrumah's government?
Yes, he was. He was one of the many people described as less civilized because he had different ideal about the role of the chiefs in governance. He thinks the chiefs were stampeding our speedy move towards independence, and so he identified with Nkrumah very much, and he was a very core member.
So even though his father was not necessarily part of Nkrumah's favorite,
his father died by the time he even.
So this is the Oforiata was Nkrumah's
government. Yes,
Aaron
William Kofi Eugene Kofi Asante Oforiata.
Standing next to him,
he was he became Attorney General.
Standing next to him,
first as a Minister of local government.
Next to him is N.A. Welbeck. So, do you know who is that?
Yeah, N.A. Welbeck with a name that is a grandfather and a phantom mother from Cape Coast. He stood on the ticket of the CPP and won the seat in 56, but Ampasadazi of NLM challenged his right to be there because he has not stayed in the constituency for the time that he's supposed to stay to win. So the case went to court, and then Victor Wusu was his lawyer.
Oh, really?
And that time, Victor Wusu was a CPP member.
Victor Wusu was the lawyer for N.A. Welbeck.
N.A. Welbeck with Kwame Sechi's son, Kokwenu Sechi.
Are you serious?
So the two of them came together, and Olenu was also the lawyer for Ampasadazi. And they went to court, which was presided over by Justice Jack Smith, Emmanuel Plange.
Who won that case?
And then Ampasadazi won the case, and Welbeck later. Afterwards, he went back again and won the seat from Ampasadazi. So N.A. Welbeck.
So is the tall guy on the left after Oforiata?
Yes. His grandson is the footballer Welbeck.
Nia
Welbeck. That is his grandfather.
There's also B. Yeboah Ferry, MP, who's the man next to N.A.
Yes, Yeboah Ferry is Adjo Yeboah J's father.
GJA, former GJA president.
Yes, he was from the Bono, one of the Bono stalwarts of the of the CPP, branch champion group.
Okay, Then there's J.H. Alassani.
Alassani was a Dagombe man from Kumbungu.
Okay.
He was also a CPP man.
I see. So then I'm seeing then there's J.B. Ezua.
Yes.
He's the man the bespectacled man in the middle, standing just next behind Nkrumah.
He's a solid politician, former headmaster of Ghana National College.
J.B. Ezua.
He continuously denied the first Nzema lawyer Robert Samuel Blay from reading the Atuabo Nzema constituency, and he continued to want the suit throughout until Nkrumah was overthrown.
Wow. And then there's a name that those of us in Accra will know, L.R. Abavana. L.R. Abavana,
so Abavana
is the man behind Bedema.
Yeah, Abavana is from the Upper East, and he's coming from the Kasana Nankana area. So, in as much as his name is in Accra, he was not actually. It is the area he was staying around the time he came from the north. One of the first Kasana Nankana intellectuals to
L.R. Abavana. Then, of course, Akwaje
from La.
Was the next. Then there's a small little man called Krobweduse.
Mr. Mook.
How come he's so infamous?
The man is not infamous. He's really famous. He did a lot of things. Indeed, among all of them, he was the least educated of them.
And he's an Ashanti.
He's an Ashanti. He was the heart of the CPP activism in Ashanti region. Member of the Ashanti Youth Association, AYA. And he was also one of the chief organizers in the region. What made him a very interesting figure is his dexterity in politics, how he speaks to people, how he connects. He is such a man that when issue, he is a strong CPP man, but anything that affects Ashantis, he was able to come out to defend his people.
Wow.
And that made him unique. So he became like some sort of a necessary evil within the Ashanti politics. And he did very well. Indeed, for me, his role as a minister is really just to start in Akolache will say that who is this Krobo I've heard about? What kind of man is he? When Krobo this came to his court, such a little man with so much power and influence.
So these were mostly all MPs.
These were mostly MPs, as well as in those days, because we were practicing first parliamentary democracy, and then Nkrumah came with what he called the hybridized form, that we have the American type and we have the British type into what we have today.
Wow. So I'm just looking at the regional breakdown. Gredema from Volta, Kesleyford from the central region, Botio from Apam,
Central,
Nkumsa from Western, Oforiata from Eastern, Welbeck, originally from Accra but Cape Coast, and then Yebo Afari from Bono, Alassani from Northern, and then you had, I think it's Ezua
from Western.
Abavana from Upper East, Akwaje from Accra, Krobweduse from
Asante.
So this was Nkrumah's cabinet.
Yeah.
It's interesting that during his overthrow, the only names he mentioned, or when I read the excerpt.
Yeah, I'm interested in that.
So he mentioned Kofi Baako of the two. So he says, during his overthrow, Kojo Botio, Kofi Baako, and other ministers who were there at the airport will be shortly seized. So he made reference to Botio and Kofi Baako.
Yeah, because Kofi Baako, whom is described in CPP circle as the Ghana's political catechist, or the catechist of Ghana politics, because of his style of politics. He was a very brilliant man. You need to take the parliamentary Hansard of the time and see his argument, even during the time that Modesto Apollo came out that they should vote for Benjamin Pokuta Makolo. If you look at the rebuttal given by Kofi Baako, it was very excellent. I don't know why his son's name is invaded by
so that. Before Kofi Baako became Kofi Baako, Kofi Baako was also
his father, a very solid guy, you know. He knows politics very well. And then both you, as you know, because of his friendship with the Nkrumah back to 1945 Manchester Congress. So these were people who were very close to Nkrumah and they were ready to support him. And for Kofi Baako, because Nkrumah's next home, apart from Accra, was South Pond. and Kofi Baku was the member of parliament for that constituency.
Oh,
you see, so anytime they meet together and then at Sopon, so they were very, very close.
I'll show you Kofi Baku when we come back. We're still on the point of view. It's almost like a picture-direct journey into the coup that overthrew Kwame Nkrumah, 24th February 1966, 59 years ago today. When we come back, we'll wrap up with a few more people, and then will the quest to change the name of the airport succeed? I'll ask my guests. Stay with us.
Imagine walking into a secure environment you call your own, a home where you are in charge of your own security. But while you dream of a brighter future, shadows could be lurking at your doorsteps and windows. With real-time alerts and a professional response team ready to act, your home is protected around the clock, whether you're away or asleep. Don't wait for safety. Create it. Installed by professionals, our systems integrate seamlessly into your home, guarding every nook and cranny. And with our rent-to-own plan, this unmatched security comes with no burdensome upfront cost. Enjoy your safety, payment at your own pace, and peace of mind. Plus, our theft guarantee protection ensures you're covered in case of any loss, giving you even more peace of mind. Secure your home with Home Shield. Make peaceful sleep a habit, knowing we stand guard. Response 1, protecting your world 24/7.
Here's Kwame and Yao. After hours of planning, both have locked in the same perfect multi-bet. Big win for United, over 1.5. And both teams to score in the London Derby. But who could have picked Leicester over City? Or a high-scoring game at the Bridge? There's nothing worse than having your perfect multi-bet missing. But there's nothing better than having it saved. Bet saver, win, even if your bet misses.
Life is a celebration of moments. Big and small.
The sun is scorching, I'm feeling the heat.
With Piva Drink, every moment becomes a refreshing celebration. From the beach to your home, in every corner of your world, Piva Drink adds a burst of refreshment.
Give me Piva cocktail and tangerine.
Celebrate every moment with Piva Drink. Refreshment for every occasion. Piva Drink, a taste you will love.
P for Piva.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back. So today we're reflecting on 24th February 1966, 59 years ago, and Nkrumah calls it dark days in Ghana after his overthrow. My guest, Kwame Nkrumah, running through some of the history for that period. We're talking about Kofi Baku, a close associate of Dr. Nkrumah. I have his photo. We want to know whether it looks like his son. So according to Nida Nkrumah, Kofi Baku was actually quite formidable in Parliament as well, before Mr. Document showed up on the scene. So this is MP for Southpond.
Yeah, Infantiman, those times.
Infantiman.
That time it was Infantiman rural.
Okay, and this is Kofi Baku.
Yeah.
He was information minister.
He was information minister.
And his son was unofficial information minister in the Fourth Republic with all his documents. Very, very
There's a picture of him and Nkrumah when they wearing the prison graduate. Yeah.
Actually, Fred, if you can go to that photo, when they took him from the prison, the first photo you have, I wanted to see that. When he was carried from...
Yeah, with his hair on camp, you see that this is a hard guy.
Where is he? This is the one. This is him. The picture is not clear.
No,
but
this is not the photo.
But it's not the one in front of him?
Yeah.
On the right?
No.
It's the same face?
Yeah.
It's the same face, this guy?
This one.
Just that, yeah, this is the guy. That's Kofi Baku.
Okay.
So this is Nkrumah when he was
being carried to the high from prison.
I'm told that this picture had to be reenacted.
Yeah.
The fable tells me that this photo Because when Nkrumah was taken from prison, it was night.
Yeah.
And they realized that they were such a hurry, they couldn't take a photo. So they had to go back and reenact it.
It is not surprising because Nkrumah was an Asafo guy. And Asafo people, things that happen, they reenact it. So if you understand your Asafo history very well, and the man whose campaign was prepared by Asafo groups in the central region and other places, you understand this reenactment.
Now, there's a very interesting story. Democracy Hub and CPP have sued for the removal of Nkrumah's name from Ghana's International Airport. I'm going to read excerpts of that story. Social activist group Democracy Hub, in collaboration with the Convention Post Party, has filed a lawsuit at the Supreme Court seeking the removal of the name of Kotoka from Ghana's International Airport. The group argues that keeping the name of Lieutenant General Emmanuel Kwesi Kotoka on a national monument contradicts Ghana's democratic principles, as he played a key role in the country's first coup d'etat 59 years ago today. And they chose to make this public today for emphasis. We're told the lawsuit, supported by a legal expert from Merton and Everett LLP, follows extensive legal and archival research. Democracy Hub is calling on civil society groups, youth activists, and defenders of democracy to back the legal challenge, describing it more than a court case. It's a national reckoning with our past. I mean, this is very interesting. Where do you see this going?
I think it's something that should be pursued, you know. Naming of monuments is about things people have done. We give honor, we give respect, we show that the nation is grateful. So when people are writing history and then someone is honored, usually the term used is that a grateful nation honored him with order of Volta, with order of Saint so and so, with the OBE. A grateful nation does that because the nation is grateful for what you have done. So anything that is contrary to something good done for a nation, people will see it as wrong. And for people that advocated for the naming of Kotoka, they are looking at the manner of death that Kotoka suffered around that vicinity when Operation Guitar Boys, which was the counter coup, was staged by Yaboa and Atta. These young military officers who felt that what they have done to Nkrumah was wrong and they had sympathies also staged a counter coup. And in that counter coup, Kotoka was killed in that
Operation Guitar Boy.
Yes, that's Operation Guitar Boy. They gave that name because around that time, Nigerian musician called Servito Uwafu have sung that song Guitar Boy, and they use it as a coup d'etat's code name, just as the code name for the 66 coup is Operation Coup Chop. You see, so this is what happened. And then how do you call it? So with this coup, the manner of death of Kotoka, the regime realized that they also ought to honor him. And the question is, why were they honoring him? To them, Nkrumah was an autocrat whom they have removed, and anyone who led in that overthrow should be rewarded. And as a result, that honor went to Kotoka. And as I explained earlier, after that was Buzier's regime, who is also a direct beneficiary.
So it was named in 69 by the Buzier government.
By Buzier government. So the naming itself was in accordance with a regime, civilian group, who were grateful for the overthrow. Because from 52, people who think they have fought for Ghana's independence and they have never tasted power, for someone they describe as an outlier who did not have that kind of chieftaincy, elitist clout like them, who had started since 1920s, some starting from 1910 and over, for Nkrumah out of nowhere to emerge in 1947, 48, then all of a sudden he has become a leader ruling the nation from 1952 to 1957 as a prime minister in that period, and then becoming a president from 1960 all the way to 66. So they feel that Nkrumah does not deserve to rule, and now their opportunity has come as a result of the military junta, and they were there, so they ought to honor whoever made it possible for them. And that is why Kotoke was given that honor. But Achampo, who came was where people were thinking that he should have reversed the move. But he himself too was a military leader. He didn't know what will also happen to him if he do and he goes and someone also erects something in his memory. What then becomes of it? Akufu also had opportunity in a short term, which is about 6 months or so. He didn't also do anything. Of course, Rawlings also came within a short span. AFRC, nothing happened. Liman was the one whom everybody was expected to do the reverse, because you have PNP, which was People's National Party of the Nkrumah East Party. That was the period this agenda or move should have been done. That move did not materialize. Afterwards, people have attacked Liman's regime for not doing the needful with regard to this specific change of the name of the airport. However, afterwards, a lot of writings have come. Many people have written critiquing the role of Kotoka in the overthrow, which the repercussion today, many people have seen that Nkrumah, after all, was a very good leader. So why do you still maintain a man who derailed the gains of independence?
Wow.
At the Nation Center, which was actually which was built and expanded first and foremost by Nkrumah. So the question then comes as, are we being nationalistic or we are rewarding removal? And that is where the Democrats, you see, they are not taking it into the politics of it. They are now making a constitutional argument about, do we really support overthrow of legitimate elected government?
It will be an interesting case.
I get the point.
Yes.
And for there, it turns to a constitutional matter rather than a political matter.
Wow.
So that is where I think the argument should be erected, because if you bring it to the issue of politics, people will also express the pain that under his regime this and this happened to my people, my family, and then you are opening the wounds.
Okay.
And that has been at the forefront of this debate.
Kweku, thank you. It's been amazing talking to you, and we're looking forward to a lot more in the month of March when we start our Heritage Month. But today, 24th February, we decided to just bring you highlights of the 1966 overthrow of Dr. Nkrumah. It happened exactly today, 59 years ago. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.